break. Council, are we ready to continue the proceedings? If we are, please proceed.
Good afternoon,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman. Good afternoon, commissioners, and good afternoon, members of the audience. We are ready to proceed with the next witness. Mr. Usher, kindly get the witness for us. Thank you.
I, Alhagie Ceesay,
I, Alhagie Ceesay,
do swear that
I'll speak the truth,
I'll speak the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ceesay.
Good afternoon, Madam.
Welcome to the TRRC.
Thank you.
Thank you for honoring our invitation and coming to testify today.
Thank you, Madam.
And we appreciate the fact that you came at very short notice, considering your busy schedule. So we appreciate that.
That's okay. Thank you.
I would just like you to be as comfortable as possible whilst you give your testimony today.
Say it again, please.
I would like you to be as comfortable as possible whilst you give your testimony today.
Thank you.
I would like you to assume a comfortable seating position. You can lean back in your chair and just draw the microphone close to you so you don't necessarily have to strain or lean over whilst you deliver your testimony to us.
I'm okay. Thank you.
All right. Just a few guidelines whilst you're delivering your testimony. Just speak slowly into the microphone, speak clearly and also loudly so that you can be audible to everyone in the hearing room as well as the audience. And to avoid overlapping speeches in my answers and in my questions and in your answers, just allow me to ask the questions first and then you will answer. That is also for the benefit of the interpreters who are also interpreting your testimony into the different local languages. So just take it slowly and just feel at ease and be comfortable.
That's
Also,
understood.
I would like to go through the different topics that we will be doing, we'll be treating in your testimony. Mainly it will be about your experience as in the protocol unit of the State House, working directly under the ex-president Jammeh, and also any information that you may have surrounding our current theme of sexual violence that you would be ready to share with us. May I also remind you that you're under a duty to tell the truth whilst you give your testimony here at the TRRC, and it is a criminal offense to lie before the commission. I hope everything that I have said is understood.
Very well understood, Madam.
During the course of my questioning, if anything is not clear to you or you would like me to repeat my questions, please just let me know. If you would also like to take a short break at any point, despite the fact that we have very slowly. My apologies, interpreters. As usual, I'm rambling away. My apologies. I'll try to take it slowly. If you would also like a break at any point, just let me know.
Understood.
Thank you very much. Are you ready to proceed?
I'm good.
What are your names?
My name's Alhagie Ceesay.
When and where were you born?
I was born on February 23rd, 1960 in Banjul.
And what is your current address?
My current address is Bijilo. I'm living at Bijilo, KSMD.
I beg your pardon. What is your occupation?
I'm the Chief of Protocol to the President.
And that is that what you currently do at this moment in time?
That's what I'm doing at the moment in time.
Please give us an overview of your educational history, starting from elementary education up to date. Provide us with dates wherever possible.
Okay.
And if you need to refer to your notes at any point, please do so.
Okay, I started my education briefly at the Albion School in Banjul. Then my father withdrew me from Albion School and then took me to the French school. So I did all my education in French from primary school up to university level. So then, though I started in Banjul, after my common entrance, then there was no French high school here in the Gambia. I went to Senegal, Kaolack. That was in 1974. Then after my second report in Kaolack, I proceeded to Dakar, where I attended the Lycée Van Vollenhoven, which is now called Lycée Lamine Gueye. So where I got my first part baccalaureate, and then my second part baccalaureate, that took me to Dakar University, now Sheikh Anta Diop University. So then after Dakar, where I have my diploma in literary translation, technical translation, I proceeded to Paris. That was in 1988, where I went to Sorbonne University and at the same time attending the Institut des Relations Internationales. Then I got my certificate in in literary translation and technical translation. Then at the institute, where I went to through examinations, then I ended up having my master's degree before coming back to the Gambia.
And what did you do after you finished your master's in international relations?
I came back home. Then I started working at the Ministry of Education. I came back home in 1995. Then at the Ministry of Education, I worked as cadet administrative officer. At the same time, I was the secretary to the Scholarship Advisory Board. And then in 1996, I was posted at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Before you
Am I
went,
going very fast? Yes.
no,
Sorry.
it's okay. I'm just trying to get your attention because I just want to take you a little bit back whilst you were at the Scholarship Advisory Board. I understand, under what department was the Scholarship
Initially,
Advisory
the
Board?
Scholarship Advisory Board was under the Ministry of Education. But at some point, the chairman then, who was the former chairman, Jame, requested that the scholarship board be transferred to the office of the chairman. Then as I was the administrative secretary at the Ministry of Education, at the same time I was the secretary to the Scholarship Advisory Board at the office of the chairman.
Can you tell us why ex-chairman Jame decided to withdraw the advisory board from the Ministry of Education?
Well,
Bring it
the
under his
information we
portfolio.
got from the...
Sorry, Mr. Ceesay. I believe I have warned you previously about our speeches overlapping. Okay. Just kindly allow me to ask the questions, and then perhaps just wait for about 3 seconds before you respond, just to avoid the overlap. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The question was why Chairman Jame, ex-Chairman Jame, decided to withdraw the advisory board from the Ministry of Education and bring it under his portfolio at the then Chairman's office.
The information I got then from the Chairman of the board, who happened to be the Secretary General then, Mustafa Wada, was that the chairman complained that the scholarship were not being awarded based on merit, that he wanted the scholarship board to be at the office of the chairman.
And in your experience, was this the case?
Well, not really, because as a secretary, I was sitting in the board, but I've never witnessed any given time when somebody was awarded a scholarship that he didn't deserve.
And after it was moved to the chairman's office, can you just tell us, just very briefly, because this is not within the area, or focus, but we would just like to know how it was administered and whether it was administered satisfactorily.
Well, it was administered satisfactorily because the chairman was Alhaji Mustafa Wada. He was a very straightforward person, very honest person, and the board was constituted by the different principals of the different high schools in the country.
Was there any instance of interference by the chairman at that point?
Not to my knowledge.
Very well. Please continue on and tell us, after you served at the Scholarship Advisory Board, where you went to next.
Then after serving at the Scholarship Advisory Board, I was posted to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for onward posting to the Gambia High Commission in Dhaka as First Secretary.
Please continue and tell us where you went.
Then after that, I spent 4 to 5 years in Dhaka as First Secretary. Then I was recalled home. Can I go ahead? So I was recalled home and then been appointed Deputy Chief of Protocol.
And when you were appointed Deputy Chief of Protocol, who was your immediate supervisor at that time?
I was working under Major Dembanjai. He was the Chief of Protocol at that time.
And it is correct that he reported directly to the President then?
That's correct.
And after that appointment, were there any other appointments after that under the protocol unit?
Yeah, under the protocol unit, too many goings and coming back. Because when I was there the first time, I was redeployed to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That was in December 2005. I was from Chief of Protocol demoted to Director of Protocol and sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then while I was at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I was appointed the head of the protocol unit to serve, that was in preparation for the AU summit that the Gambia hosted in 2006. Then while we were there, I was the head of the protocol unit. I was recalled to serve as Chief of Protocol again. Then in 2009, I was appointed Permanent Secretary, Office of the President, and in 2010, I became Chief of Protocol again. February, 2012, I was dismissed, and 3 days after, that was February 6th, I was reinstated as Chief of Protocol. And then in July 2012, I was demoted again from Chief of Protocol to the position of Director of Protocol and was sent at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then in 13 November 2013, I was dismissed. And then August 21st, 2014, I was reinstated as Chief of Protocol. And October 2014, I was demoted from the position of Chief of Protocol to Deputy Permanent Secretary, Office of the First Lady. And then 17 November 2014, I became Permanent Secretary 1, Office of the First Lady, position I held until my recent appointment as Chief of Protocol in 2017.
Your experience at the protocol unit at State House was quite active, if I could say that. You went through various stages of being deployed to the Office of the President, also to the Office of the First Lady. You went through demotions as well as dismissals.
That's correct.
Without going into the substance of the matter, can you just briefly tell us why you were demoted at the various points that you were and why you were dismissed and then subsequently reinstated or redeployed between the two offices, the President as well as the First Lady?
To tell you the truth, I have never ever been given any reason why I was being demoted or dismissed.
Did you ever ask for one?
No, I never.
Why did you not ask for one?
Well, because I don't know how to explain it. I just didn't want to be in his trap. So whenever I'm dismissed or demoted, I'll not spend any time there. I'll just pack my things and write my handing over note and then leave.
Who are you referring to as he?
The president, the former president.
And what do you mean by falling into his trap?
Well, I didn't want to be caught somewhere whereby he'll be saying that, well, I didn't want to show him my emotions, really, in order not to be frustrated further.
Did you have any suspicions about why he acted in that manner?
Why I was demoted, you mean, or dismissed?
Yes.
At times you would just assume you'll be there trying to recollect, try to know what did I do wrong that would warrant my demotion or my dismissal. You will end up only in speculation, but you would never know exactly why this is the reason you are being demoted or dismissed.
Thank you very much. But I'm sure later on we will go into some of the difficulties and challenges that you had whilst you were working at State House. Kindly give us just a preview into the protocol unit at State House. What was its function, as well as the role and responsibilities that you had as Chief of Protocol within the unit?
Well, as Chief of Protocol, you manage the President's diary, you schedule his daily meeting, you coordinate his activities, be it within the premises of the State House or outside. At the same time, you are responsible for coordinating his overseas engagements and any other assignment he feels you should do for him within the framework of your responsibilities as Chief of Protocol, of course.
And apart from coordinating perhaps meetings and trips, would you also accompany him to these various functions or activities that he had?
Yes, Chief of Protocol always travel with the President.
And would I be correct in assuming that you spent a lot of time with the President in very close proximity?
Well, in the office, because it's the responsibility, the role of the Chief of Protocol to usher whoever has to go in, unless you have a very familiar person or the orderlies to do that. And also it's the responsibility of the Chief of Protocol to usher the President from the house to the office and back.
And would you say that you had a very close relationship with the President?
Professional relationship, the President, yes.
You had a close official relationship with the President?
That's correct, Madam.
Due to the nature of your duties?
That's right.
You already mentioned that you were working under Dembanjai at the time when he was Chief of Protocol. Can you tell us who else was in the protocol unit at that time?
Well, when I first came, Dembanjai was the Chief of Protocol. And the other person I found there was Patun Jaganjai, who was the senior protocol officer to the former First Lady. And then Babukar Jabate was there as protocol to the former Vice President. So at that time, yeah, we were 3 to 4 then.
Did you have any protocol officers working directly under you at the time?
At the time, then Fatunjai, though she was the protocol to the First Lady, but she was my assistant, sort of.
What about under the Office of the President? Did you have any protocol officers working directly under you?
Then, at some point, protocol officers started coming in. Then I remember having James Mustafa Kujabi as Deputy Chief of Protocol, Omar Jiba as Deputy Chief of Protocol.
Just to warn you, Mr. Ceesay, I believe we spoke about this previously.
Okay.
Just in terms of some of the names that are protected, which we discussed, just to avoid naming such names.
Okay. Well,
Yes, you already have a copy
have
of the
it. I'm
protected
sorry for that.
information sheet
Sorry,
before
yeah.
you. Yes, but please go on. I mean, as long as those names are not protected, you're allowed to mention them.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Yeah, please go on, Mr. Ceesay. You mentioned James Kujabi, and who else?
Omar Jiba,
And what
As-
were their positions at the time?
Deputy Chief of Protocol. I think James came first and then Omar followed.
Do you remember at what time period they came? What year?
If my memory serves me right, I think that was around 2008, 2009, if my memory serves me right.
Can you tell us briefly about how they were recruited into the protocol unit?
Well, it was an executive directive, to be more specific, madam.
And can you just explain what you mean by that?
Well, because I believe that if you have to come into the civil service, you have to go through a procedure. Because normally when there are vacancies, positions are advertised, applications are submitted at the Personnel Management Office, shortlisting is effected, and then interview is being done at the Public Service Commission. So, and if at all, there are protocol officers that are supposed to come to the Office of the President and work under the Chief of Protocol. In normal circumstances, the Chief of Protocol have to be invited at the PSC to attend the interviews of the would-be protocol officers. But in my experience, the only time I went to the PSC was when I was myself being interviewed to join the civil service. But apart from that, I have never, ever, as a chief of protocol, been invited to attend interviews that concern protocol officers.
So as far as you were concerned, the recruitment of Mr. Kujabi as well as Mr. Jiba did not actually go according to normal recruitment practice of civil servants in the government at the time.
Well, no. Unless, I don't know where they come from, unless it was a redeployment from one ministry to another. But if not, I've never attended any interview.
As far as you know, I believe you're speculating, but I'm just asking in terms of what you know. As chief of protocol then, you were not invited to an interview.
At the PSC, no.
Okay, thank you. And can you tell us the nature of the relationship between Mr. Kujabi and Mr. Jiba and the ex-president?
Well, I think, I'm not sure. I know Mr. Kujabi was very close to the president. At some point, I thought they were related, I think.
You knew that they were relatives?
Well, I suspected that. They were very close. They were very close.
Did you know that they were relatives?
No.
Okay. But this is public knowledge.
That they were relatives?
Yes.
Well, okay, thank you.
And how close were they? Can you just explain the nature of their relationship?
Well, because at times, you know, even if some people have issues that they want the problem to the president, former president, to take care of or to address, at times they go through James Kujabi because he was more familiar with the president to assist and get that problem solved.
And would you say that he had a closer relationship to the president than you did as his boss?
Well, I mean, my relationship with the former president was very professional because I did all my best to avoid too much of familiarity with him.
And what about Mr. Jiba?
Yeah, Jiba the same, because I believe that Jiba, they knew the president before. That's my belief.
Are they relatives?
I don't know. Jiba, I don't think so. He never told me that.
You've already mentioned the fact that these two individuals did not go through the normal recruitment process. Would you agree that they were personally selected by the presidents to occupy those positions?
Yeah, in fact, Madam, to tell you, I believe all the protocol officers that work under me came the same way.
Please just be clearer. What do you mean by they came the same way?
Not through the normal procedure. It was an executive directive, Madam.
So they were personally selected by the president?
Yes.
Because it was the president that was issuing these executive directives,
very
wasn't
correct.
it?
Very correct, Madam.
Thank you very much. And he obviously imposed them. He imposed the executive directives. He made sure that they were applied.
Yeah, you know, you are in the office and then you see somebody, one or two protocol officers, being men or women, ushered by somebody, an orderly, to say, well, Chief, the president has asked me to bring them. They are supposed to work as protocol officers.
Please speak up, Mr. Ceesay.
Okay, sorry, I don't know.
I just wanted you to be clear about the fact as to whether, when the president made an executive directive, these were enforced and they were carried out by the people to whom they were directed. For example, yourself.
That's correct.
Would you carry out his executive directive?
Yes, madam.
Thank you very much. Can you just describe the scene at State House for us whilst you were working there? Perhaps you could start by just telling us what your working relationship was like with the ex-president.
Well, when I first came as Chief of Protocol, it was smooth, to tell you the truth, because as Chief of Protocol, to draw the schedule of the day, I used to do it based on the audiences that were approved, because normally you have to write a request for an audience to meet the president. Then it's based on those approval that I would schedule people daily. It was okay, that was agreeable to him, until some point when things have started changing.
And what did things start to change? My apologies.
Sorry, when we went up to 2005, 2006, then he became a changed person. You would draw a program while people were waiting in the VIP lounge. Then he would ask you to cancel all the appointments. It happened not once, not twice. So what you would have to do as Chief of Protocol is to go down and talk to those people. Well, this is what happened. The president has asked me to, you say it in a very nice way, that he's busy, we'll call you back when he has time. Some would understand, others won't.
So instead of managing his activities and his diary or calendar, you were busy managing people that he was offending.
Of course, as a Chief of Protocol, you have to.
And what other things changed?
Well, Then, if I could say, the inaccessibility started building up, whereby day in, day out, it's becoming more and more difficult to have access to him. It doesn't matter who you are. You know, so then with that, it started affecting the will of the administration. So if a minister would come without urgent issue and having problem to see the president, when those matters have to be dealt with immediately, then it started affecting the whole system, the whole administration.
And do you know what was the cause of the president being inaccessible? Why was he refusing to see important people and tend to urgent matters in cabinet or at State House?
That depends on the mood you find him in.
And how would you describe the ex-president's mood?
Well, as chief of protocol, then at that time, what you do in the morning when you enter the office is, in a fraction of a second, to try and gauge his mood and know who is there. Whether, well, is the, sorry to say, the normal person, or that you can talk to and get things moved, or it is the person whom you should leave there, go to your office, come back and see whether you can make things move.
You must have had some experiences with the ex-president for you to adopt this mentality or this behavior to gauge his mood. Can you give us examples of how he has acted towards you or other people in the past, and what his moods have been like?
Well, I remember, well, the day before there was a function at State House. Then he was giving money to some people. So when the last person came, there wasn't anything left. Then he told me, well, let him come and see me tomorrow. So I'll give him his share. But that very morning when he came, well, I dare not even talk to him. But when I went out, I went to that gentleman and told him, look, I would advise you to come back tomorrow, because we are very busy. And then, you know, he couldn't understand that. Who are you to tell me that? The president told you yesterday that I should come today, and you're asking me to go back home? I would.
What mood was he in, Mr. Ceesay, when he came in that morning? Because you said you dared not talk to him when he came in. What kind of mood was he in?
A very bad mood.
And how did you know he was in a bad mood?
Well, you know, I mean, as the chief of protocol, it's very easy for me to know what mood he's in a fraction of a second. Then I would know what issues to raise and what not to raise.
Unfortunately, we are not in that position as chief of protocol, and we don't have that relationship with ex-President Jammeh. So please bring it down to our level and just, you know, break it down.
As I was saying,
Mr. Ceesay, I haven't finished my question yet.
Sorry, madam. I'm sorry.
Just help us to understand, you know, what kind of mood he was in, and what would tell you that he was in a bad mood, perhaps in the way that he acted, or things that he would say, or the way he carried himself.
Yeah, in a bad mood, because at times the first thing you tell your principal when you see him is either good morning or good afternoon. And when you say so, you would expect an answer back. So when you don't have one, then, you know, things are not what you're expecting.
So are you saying that you greeted him that morning and he did not respond?
No, well, it happens. That's very frequent, madam.
I was just asking in relation to that particular incident. to
No,
tell
that-
us just what happened on that day and how you were able to assess his
No,
mood?
that particular morning, I cannot recall whether I greeted him in the office or not, because normally you have to usher him from the door to the office. You know, and normally when we do that, you don't do that alone. You are together with the commander, the orderly, and the head security.
The commander of what, sorry?
Commander of the State Guard.
Thank you. All right. So what happened? Just go ahead and tell us what actually happened on that day.
Then I asked the orderly to come with me so that we can talk to that gentleman, because my fear was for him not to have what he was promised that very day. Then we went to see the gentleman, but he persisted. Then I told the orderly, well, let's go and talk to the president. Well, I walked in and told him, Your Excellency, the gentleman you referred to me yesterday, he's here. And I don't know whether I should say what he,
Please go ahead. We would like to know.
well, let him go to hell.
In what language did he say that?
He said, let him go to hell.
In English.
Very well.
And how did he say it?
As I've just said, madam, with a stronger tone, maybe.
That's what I was
In a stronger
actually
tone,
looking
yes.
for. Perhaps just to describe the tone and perhaps the manner in which he
That's
would
right.
say it. In your Yaya Jammeh
then
voice.
what I did, the orderly was there, I told him, let's go. So then, while we were going, I told the orderly, well, let's tell him that the president said he should come tomorrow. So that's what we did. We were able to convince him. He left 2-3 days after. The president was in a better mood. Then I talked to him. Then he gave me the money, and then I called the gentleman to come and collect his money.
So you didn't actually give the exact message to the visitor?
No, no, I didn't.
And would you normally have to go in with an orderly to see the president?
No, I don't have to.
So why did you go with the orderly on this particular occasion?
Yeah, because maybe I wanted just a witness
Moral support?
for moral support for the gentleman to understand.
Right. Please tell us of other instances and perhaps, the general attitude of the president towards you and perhaps other members of staff as well that you witnessed.
Insults?
Insults? What kind of insults?
Wow, I don't think, do I have to say that here?
Please, because we would like to know the kind of insults that he used. We want to know, Jam, we want to know his character, his personality, who he was as a person.
Very difficult to know, madam. Yeah, Jame, the person he was. Yes, I mean, to ask you to go to hell. As I said, I remember him telling somebody a protocol. If you say this or you do this again, you will regret why you were born.
We have heard other things that he has said to other witnesses, more graphic words than that. We understand that you're a diplomat, Mr. Ceesay, but please don't be diplomatic about this. Tell us what insults the ex-president used to use on people. I mean, you were in close proximity to him. You also witnessed how he treated his orderlies, for example.
Oh yes,
Who were members of the army, and perhaps, he could say things, more things that he could say to you, for example. So tell us what some of the words that he would use on them.
Well, To be quite honest, I'm having problems saying that in public, to be quite honest.
Would you like to
Really,
write them down
it's
for
a
us?
problem to me because for those who know me, hearing me saying those insults, to be quite honest, I'm being very uncomfortable. I don't know whether I can write it or give it to the commission.
This is an exceptional situation, Mr. Ceesay, and you're before the commission. You're required to say the truth. Just tell us. It is not you using them. You're just narrating what someone else said.
Well, su loolu amatee naa ko def lu nangam tàndeem. That's the really is more to it, but it's difficult for me to say.
What about 6 feet deep? Did he threaten anyone?
Well, 6
with
feet
that?
deep, not that he said that in my presence, but I think that was an interview. I heard it over an interview, him saying that.
Did he actually threaten anyone with death, for example?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was not in my presence. I overheard that in an interview he gave. I cannot remember where and when.
What about any other threats that he made towards you or his orderlies?
Well, for me, what he's been telling me on several occasions, well, if you are not careful, I'll lock you up.
And where would he say he would lock you up?
Well, at Mile 2. That's the only place.
How did he normally refer to Mile 2?
His hotel. I'll take you to my hotel if you are not careful.
His 5-star hotel or just his hotel?
Maybe 7. For him, it's more than a 5-star hotel.
What about other threats to orderlies or other protocol officers who were working under you?
Those that, because at times you would have the orderlies go to his office without my presence. Yeah. And some would come back to my office crying. They'll be crying, bitterly at times, but in most cases they will never tell you what happened between them and the president. So there you would understand that things didn't go well. So what you need to do is just to encourage them to be stronger enough.
And were you suspicious about what he had done to them to make grown, not only men, but these are hard soldiers cry?
Yeah, insults. I'm talking about the protocol officers.
Apart from insults, did you actually see him do anything else
To the protocol
orderlies?
officers? No, no.
What about his orderlies?
Well, his orderlies, very many things, not in my presence, because normally, the chief of protocol and the orderlies, they work very, very closely. In the morning, they will explain to me the incidents they went through overnight.
Please tell us what kind of incidents they reported to you.
Sprays in their faces, in their mouth, beatings, insults.
Under what circumstances? Just explain the circumstances
Well,
surrounding.
if he...
Sorry, Mr. Ceesay. Please remember my warning.
Okay.
Just to avoid it, just count 3 seconds before you respond.
Sorry, madam.
All right, thank you. Please go on.
Yeah, insults. Mosquito spray on their faces, in their mouth, if he finds you sleeping. Beatings with either his sticks or something that he may find next to him.
And this would be the ex-president carrying these actions
Yes, based
out on
on
his
what the
orderlies.
orderlies would explain to me the following morning.
Do you remember any other ways he would treat members of his staff?
The orderlies?
Yes, please.
Yes, to ask the the commander to lock them up at the Fajara barracks usually.
Has he ever threatened, because you've already mentioned that he has threatened you with imprisonment at Mile 2.
Yeah, yes.
And you're saying that he has also carried out those threats in relation to his orderlies at Fajara barracks.
That's right.
Do you know whether he would order anything else to be done to those orderlies whilst they were under detention at Fajara barracks?
No. For those things, maybe he would directly talk to the State Guard Commander, because it was the responsibility of the State Guard Commander to execute those directives, not the Chief of Protocol.
And do you know whether due process would be followed before he would lock these people up?
Well, they will report to the Commander's office, maybe, to have their charge sheet, they call it, before you go.
So are you saying the due process was followed in locking up of orderlies?
Whether due process was followed?
Yes.
Well, what normally happens if the instruction is given to the State Guard Commander, the orderly would report to the State Guard Commander, and then next you are at the Fajara barracks.
Would you say that was due process? Shouldn't they be charged with a particular offense, for example?
No, it
and
was not a due
investigated?
process, madam, at all. Not at all.
Thank you very much.
Not at all.
Okay. How did you personally manage your relationship with ex-President Jammeh?
Well, it was because I tried, as I said, maximum possible not to develop any familiarity with him. Though at times he would crack some jokes, I would smile and then, but I wanted to be as professional as possible with him.
And what prompted you to develop that kind of thinking?
Well, that kind of thinking, because what happened to Demba Njie made me, well, stay on my guard, because Demba Njie, he was my boss, but that was a gentleman I worked with, Demba Njie, as my boss, because I knew him before, and a very nice person for that matter. And I think as a soldier, he had a relationship with former President Jammeh. Then we were in the office and I got the news, I cannot recall from who, that Demba Njie was going to be dismissed. So when they came back from an overseas engagement, so then I found him cracking joke with the presidents. Then I said to myself, well, alhamdulillah, maybe the decision was rescinded. But 2-3 days, I noticed that the directive stood. Then I was wondering, I don't know where I have landed myself here. If he can be cracking joke with him, knowing very well that he has sacked him, then I have to be very careful.
And do you know under what circumstances Demba Njie was sacked on that particular occasion?
Well, the reason for his sacking?
Yes, please.
No.
Would you say that Demba Njie was an honest and truthful person?
Yeah, because he was my immediate boss, and that's what he showed to me.
Thank you. Can you, before we move on, can you remember other instances of maltreatment at the hands of the president by yourself, other protocol officers, or orderlies?
Well, I would not say maltreatment, but that I have escaped, if I can call it, implication. Because what happened here was, I was in my office and I got a call from outside, an acquaintance who called me saying, well, there's an elderly person right here in my office wanting to see you because there's an urgent message that has to be delivered to the president. Well, though I was very busy, but this gentleman insisted that I should see that person. But when that person reported to my office, he told me that, well, I'm here, so I have to see the president now. Then I told him, no, it does not work like that. So you have to tell me the reason why you are here. Or if at all you know each other before, I'll go and tell him Mr. X is here. If he wants to see you directly, then fine. So, but he told me, well, there are very important sacrifices that has to be done. So I couldn't remember how many heads of cattle he counted. Well, when he told me that, then I said, well, okay. I called the State Guard commander. I told him, well, I'm with somebody here, and then he has a message that he believed we have to convey to the president. So I went with the commander. He explained the same thing to the commander. That was Commander Bojang, General Bojang. He was the State Guard commander then. Then when he said that, I told him, well, I believe, Commander, what we have to do, well, because the president is very particular about things like that. So we went to the president's office.
Sorry, Mr. Ceesay,
Oh,
just clarify what you mean by he's very particular about things like that.
Well, I mean, about sacrifices to give out charity. Those are things that he was doing very frequently. That's what I mean.
Thank you.
Well, we went to see him. Then when I narrated this story to him, he told me, well, these people, maybe he's just looking for money. But anyway, what you do, call Solo Bojang, a soldier, and together with the commander and that elderly person, you can talk. Then we called Solo. He came to the State House. And then when he came, we went to the commander's office. And then this man explained the same thing. So then after the explanation, Solo said, okay, he'll go and brief the president. I tell him no. The assignment was given to all three of us. Let all three of us go to the president. We went to the president. So we explained everything to him. He said, okay, I'll see with Solo. So while we were going towards the exit, he told me, Ceesay, in fact, I think this is the very person who came here and told you that there is the likelihood for a coup d'etat. 16 November 2006. I told him, me. He said, yes, you. I told him, no. Your Excellency, at that period, I was not your chief of protocol. I was the head of the protocol unit at the AU sector. He said, yes, okay, okay. And in fact, I told him if I was your chief of protocol, I would have traveled with you to Mauritania, because when there was that attempted coup, I think November 2006, they traveled to me. He said, okay, yes, yes, yes. Then, well, that's how we walked out. I went to my office, take ablutions and pray to Raka and said, Alhamdulillah.
And why did you do that?
Well, because I was of the belief that it could have been worse for me if I didn't have tangible reasons to give him.
And what do you mean by it could have been worse? How worse could it have been?
Everything could have happened. Maybe I would have been discussed here at the TRRC.
Like what?
Well, those who went for those, I could have been killed for them.
And what coup d'etat were you referring to?
2006.
Was it the coup d'etat of Nur Cham?
That's correct, madam.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned Solo Bojang. Who was he?
Solo Bojang, he was a soldier.
And what position did he occupy?
Wow, I cannot recall. I don't know whether he was a lieutenant or captain. I remember him being a lieutenant. Then I don't know whether he.
Do you know what unit of the army he was
State
attached
guard.
to?
He was the state guard.
And what was his relationship like with the president,
Very
with the
close.
ex-president?
Very close. He used to be running his errands a lot.
Do you know if he belonged to any particular group?
Well, he was mentioned as part of the junglers.
And did you know him to be a member of the junglers?
Well, from hearsay, also when we were at the State House, at some point it became an open secret to say that this person is a jungler. So it was very, very common.
Is there anything else you heard about the junglers, and did you meet any of them whilst you were at the State House?
We were working with them.
How were you
We were
doing
traveling with them. Then we didn't know who they were until very many things were revealed here at the TRRC.
that? And how would you normally meet them? Under what circumstances?
How do we?
How would you normally meet them? Under what circumstances?
No, what I'm saying, these were state guard soldiers that when we were traveling, they were part of the security, how to call it, the security personnel that were accompanying the president.
And was this unusual?
Sorry?
Was this unusual that they would be part of the security detail?
No, but at then, myself and many of my colleagues didn't know who they were then. We didn't know they were junglers then.
But you saw them frequenting State House.
Yeah, they were state guard. They were working there.
And do you remember anyone in particular, or any one of them?
The junglers?
Yes, who
Yeah.
used to frequent State House.
No, but they were there. They were soldiers working at the State House.
And how did you feel when you heard the revelations about the work of the junglers?
Well, some of us were scared because they will be coming to the chief of protocol, Lanabate, and then you give them some money. But when we saw them on TV, realized that, well, these people were junglers, so it was kind of scary.
Looking back in hindsight, as well as describing the nature of the president, did it make sense that that is what they were doing?
The junglers, what they were doing?
Yes.
Their activities?
Yes.
Killing people? No.
Yes. Did you believe that?
That they were doing that?
Yes.
When they came here at the TRRC?
Yes, Mr. Ceesay.
Of course, yes. Because they said it themselves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've already described some of the personality traits of the ex-president, his mood swings, and the way in which he behaved. How would you describe his personality?
We say bipolar.
What do you mean by bipolar?
Well, in French, I'm trying to find the expression in English. It's becoming difficult.
Can I help you? Would it be multiple personality disorder?
Yeah, multiple, even if you can have a stronger word, maybe, but multiple should
Please
be
help
okay.
us with that strong
Well,
word.
that's what I'm trying to find, multiple personalities,
Okay. Do you have an expression in French? Or perhaps you can just explain how he behaved.
Une personne aux deux extrémités rapprochées.
What was that? Mr. Chairman would probably have to interpret that for us. Okay.
Person with multiple and opposing personalities.
Lead counsel tells me that it's a person with multiple and opposing personalities
I think that should.
or inconsistent personalities.
Yeah, the inconsistency was there.
So would you describe his behavior or personality as very erratic,
And very
unrational,
and very unpredictable.
and unpredictable?
Very.
And how did you deal with that? What challenges and difficulties did that pose in your working relationship with the ex-president?
Well, we've been managing. So, if you spend a whole day in the office, and then at the close of the day is, well, Alhamdulillah, today is gone.
So were you walking on eggshells, essentially,
Yes, of course.
trying to gauge his mood?
Yeah, trying to gauge his mood and trying to manage him at the same time.
It must have been a
Because when
tense
he's
environment. My apologies, please continue.
when he's in a very bad mood, all the others around can go to their different offices. But as chief of protocol, you have to face that. You don't have an excuse.
So you bore the brunt of his wrath, basically.
Of course.
I would assume that a lot of people feared the ex-president because of the way in which he behaved.
A lot of people, including myself.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Do you think he was mentally stable?
Well, I'm not a specialist to decide or to, because at times you would see some behaviors and you wonder whether a normal person would behave like this.
And you have already diagnosed him, right, with a disorder?
Well, yeah.
I believe it's a mental disorder.
It could be.
Right, let's move on. A lot of people feared him, you said, including yourself. Can you give us examples of perhaps the few people who actually could stand up to him and tell him what they thought? Are there examples of such people?
Very, very few then. I can only remember Jame Haruna. Well, I don't say defied him one day. I didn't know what he said in Jola, but what it was interpreted to me, it meant, well, you asked me to come, but I'm still here and you are not attending to me. So why did I ask those that were there what he said? It because of the tone. Because then I didn't see anybody at that time who would dare face him and talk to him like that.
And how did the ex-president react?
Well, he replied in Jola.
And subsequently, did you hear what happened to Haruna Jame?
Yeah, afterwards, based on the what the junglers narrated here, yeah.
And what was that?
That he was killed.
And do you know under what circumstances he was killed?
Well, I think he was taken in the bush, and if my memory serves me right, what was it, Oya or somebody, that there was a rope tied over his neck and they pull it from different ends and then he fell down.
And who gave that order to kill?
Well, I was not there. I was not the one who was given,
According to what you heard the junglers say.
well, that the order came from the former president, based on what they said.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll just move on to another area. We've heard lots of testimony within this sexual violence theme that we're dealing with about a special group of protocol officers that were at State House. Do you know anything about a special group of protocol officers that existed at the State House?
Yes. group of protocol officers that would be sent to the chief of protocol. There were very many. Some men, but mostly young ladies, that would be ushered to my office and said, well, these are protocol officers that the president has asked us to bring to you, and that they should work under you. That was very frequent, madam.
And just let me just repeat the warning again, just in case you make a mistake, not to name any names. But would you know how these protocol officers were actually selected and recruited?
It was an executive directive.
And you have already explained to us in
That's-
detail about what those
that's right.
executive directives were. And did you have a choice to accept them or not?
We had to accept them. We didn't have any choice, because if we had a choice, we would have been
How-
asked to interview them or to attend their interviews.
And in terms of the kind of protocol officers that came, especially the young girls, did they have the capacity to work in that position?
Not really. Some of them were kind of okay, but you would have a majority of them that were very academically limited.
And did you know whether or not these protocol officers were being selected based on merit or employed based on merit?
No, the opportunity was not given to us to gauge them in the first place as to know whether they can do the job or not. So they would just come like that. Then as a chief of protocol, you will try through the assessments you give them and see what they are fit to do and what they are not fit to do.
And what was your assessment once they were brought in? I mean, did you find them capable?
Some, yes.
And the others?
The others, no.
And those who were capable, what kind of work would you engage them in?
Yeah, some of them you would even go to the point of asking them to be mediating files files that are sent to the chief of protocol. I started training some of them as to how they should minute a file to go to the president through the secretary general. Some did well, but others you tried, but really it didn't go any further. So you have to be giving them, assignments would you think will be of their level. Then at times, in most times, you ask them to be ushering guests to the VIP lounge.
And what would you say was the nature of their relationship with the ex-president?
Well, some of them, Madam Counsel, it was an open secret. Let's just say some of them were special ladies to the president.
Please tell us what you mean by special ladies.
Well, because, some of them, you assign them once, twice, you don't do it for a third time. They may not tell you, but the look is that, well, I'm brought here by the president.
So you
So
could
you
not
have to
hold
be
them
careful.
accountable?
Sorry?
You could not hold them accountable.
Not at all.
And why was that?
Well, simply because they were all brought to me because it was an executive directive. Some of them would understand that there's the chief of protocol, we have to work under him. They would take my instructions, but others were seeing things differently. And what you could do is just to manage them.
Please elaborate and explain so that we can understand.
Sorry, ma'am.
Please elaborate and explain so that we can understand what you're saying.
What I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is some of them would come with a reasonable academic level. You see that, well, there is something that you can put onto these ones. Because that's how I say things. I just approach them professionally as a chief of protocol. Even to see whether through the job you can build their capacity. Some will, okay, accept, but others won't.
And I believe you've already explained the circumstances, you were in because of their relationship with the president.
Yes.
You could not hold them accountable. But you also said that the nature of the relationship of these girls to the ex-president was an open secret. What was an open secret?
No, what open secret, because at the State House, everybody would understand, okay, you just, the name of protocol officer was just a cover-up.
For what?
Huh?
For what?
For their being there.
Please call a spade a spade.
That's what I'm saying, madam.
Tell us the nature of their relationship with the ex-president.
Well, their relationship, that's what I said, it was a special relationship. The only thing is that when we were in the office, we are together with them. So when we close work, we'll go home. Some will not go home.
And what would you say was the reason for them being there?
Say it again, please, ma'am.
What would you say was the reason for these girls being there?
Being there.
Yes, at
Yeah.
State House. You said it was a cover-up. A cover-up for what?
Yeah, because what I mean, it was a cover-up for them to be called protocol officers, but maybe he needed them for something else.
Like
If
what?
you can call, huh? Well, I cannot tell you what, but what we normally say, Junju doyna borom hell.
Please tell us the translation. We need further elaboration. I mean, we cannot, you're speculating, and
But I can tell you what.
we cannot read into these things. You need to tell us
Okay.
what you mean.
What I mean is this. We are in the office. I'm the chief of protocol. After work, I'll go home. Some of them will come to the State House after working hours. And they will go to the president. Be it in Banjul, be it in Kanilai. Sunday, public holiday, it doesn't matter.
These girls, were they being referred to by a particular name?
Particular name?
Have you heard them being referred to,
Special-
for example, as the president's girls?
President's girls, yes. Special ladies.
You've also heard
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
being referred to as special ladies.
Yeah.
And what do these terms imply to you?
To me, how do I call that? Do we say ultra professional?
Sorry, Mr. Ceesay, I'm finding it very hard to understand you. Please speak clearly, and
Okay,
please, reveal your thoughts. It seems
No,
you're
what I'm
thinking, but
saying-
not really telling
well,
us what you're thinking.
I'm not hiding anything.
I'm
what
not
I'm
saying you are hiding
okay.
anything.
Madam, what I'm saying
But
here
please
is...
just be forthcoming with the information. Thank you.
Okay, the issue is this. The chief of protocol will be with those ladies only when we are in the office. After close of work, I'll go home. And then tomorrow they will tell you X was here yesterday, or X was were in Kanilai over the weekend.
And who would tell you? Who would tell you this?
Well, maybe my assistants or we have that close relationship with the others to tell you.
And you believe this
Yes.
because
Yes.
of the way you've seen him behave
Yeah,
with
very
these
well,
girls.
very well.
Are you aware of any of these protocol officers actually living within the premises of the State House?
Well, you know, there was a building at the marina where some protocol officers were staying within the State House.
Was that normal?
Not normal at all.
And why do you think that they were there? Were
Well-
they there? Let me ask you a direct question, Mr. Ceesay.
Go ahead, madam.
Were they there for the president's pleasure?
I want to believe so. If after work you stay there instead of going home,
And his sexual pleasure, I mean.
it could be.
I'm putting it to you that you know so. You're just being diplomatic, but you know that.
Well, because I cannot be that specific, because I'm saying that based off my understanding of their being there.
And did you know the ex-president to be seeing any of these protocol girls?
Seeing,
Yes,
meaning,
in a relationship, a romantic relationship with any of these girls.
yes.
Sexual relationship, perhaps.
Well, sexual, because I didn't go into their intimacy as to know what was going on. This is something that we just believe was happening.
Mr. Ceesay, can you kindly take a look at the protected information sheet?
Yes, madam.
And if you know of any girls that the president was having a sexual relationship with, can you kindly circle the number
I have to circle it.
and tell us which number it is?
What I'm sure of. Number 3. I have to call the numbers, right?
Yes, please, don't
Number
name the
3.
names.
Number 4. Number 9. Number 9. Number 15. Number 16. Number 17. Number 19. Number 21. Number 28. Yeah, so far, this is the number 26.
Are there any other names that are not on this protected information sheet that you can think of? If so, please write them down and number them from 33, please.
$33 years. I'm done, ma'am.
Mr. Ceesay, do you know whether in any of these names on the sheet, whether they were married at the time, whether any two individuals on this sheet were married at the time?
Number 9?
Yes. Number 9 and who?
Number 9? 19?
How about 28?
Well, then, I don't know. At that time, I was not sure whether she was married or not. I was not sure.
All right, thank you. Let's just move on. I would just like to ask you some questions surrounding some of the numbers that you have circled, and just to warn you again, not to reveal their names or any identifying information. Number 3 and 4, or perhaps I should ask, which of the numbers you have circled were protocol officers?
Both?
Any other on the list?
Okay. And on that's all. Yeah, okay.
Do you know anything about number 7?
No, I don't know her.
Which of the numbers you've circled are female soldiers?
Female soldiers, number 9, number 15, 16, 17, 19, 21. Yes.
Thank you. And what about the others that you have circled? Just tell us what number you've circled and what they were, or who they were, rather.
Okay. Number 3 was a protocol officer.
Yes, you've already mentioned him. I meant the remaining. For example, number 26. Who was she?
Yes, she was a protocol officer. She was.
28?
No. Not under me. She was not a protocol officer.
Do you know who she was and under what circumstances she became involved with the ex-president?
Well, the time she was there, as far as I know, I was with the former First Lady then. Yeah.
Do you know of any individuals in particular who would facilitate the coming of these girls into State House to see the ex-president? Women, rather. Coming of this woman into State House.
Number 32. Do I have to circle that one? No.
Yes, please, just circle.
Number 30, 31. Oh.
Sorry, Mr. Ceesay, what number did you last mention?
Is 30.
Are you confident, or would you like to mention any of these names? I mean in terms of the facilitators, not the protected woman. from number 30 to number 32.
I would prefer not to, if you may allow me to do so.
Any one of them?
Jimby, I can say.
Okay. And who was Jimbe? Can you give us her full name?
Jimby Jame was a protocol officer, I think also a relative to former president.
Do you know how they were related?
No, really. I know that they are related, but the relationship that I don't know how it came about.
Please tell us more about the nature of their relationship, apart from them being related. How close was she to the
very
ex-president?
close, very close. Because then, in fact, when you would want to give assignments to this protocol officer, the easiest way for me was to call her and tell her, look, I have this, arrange your girls to go and get it done. Mhm.
And who were those girls?
The protocol officers.
And was it because she had a special rapport with them?
That's very true, yeah.
Do you know how she developed that rapport? What was her relationship with these girls?
Because she was the link between them and the president.
So did she actually facilitate bringing them into State House? Is that what you're saying?
That's right, that's what I'm saying, ma'am.
And without mentioning number 32, just tell us what the particular role of the person was. How did she or he facilitate these girls coming into State House?
That person was, number 32, was coordinating their coming to the State House.
And who was brought as a result of this person, and under what circumstances?
Ladies,
What kind of ladies?
at times Gambians or foreign nationals. Not all, but Gambians and foreign nationals.
From which countries?
Foreign nationals.
And how would you call number 32? Would you have a particular name or a special name for the person, special word?
A facilitator, maybe.
What about a pimp?
A pimp.
Would
Yes.
you agree that would be an appropriate word?
Yes, madam.
And why would you say so?
Well, because the role that person was playing is that of a pimp.
Please explain for those people that don't know what a pimp is, please.
Is to be given or to be assigned to go and get a lady for a particular person and bring it to that person. That's my understanding of a pimp.
And where would these ladies be taken to?
To the president,
Where? Where in particular?
Banjul, Kanilai.
And for what purpose?
For what purpose? Wow.
Please call a spade a spade.
No, okay. Not that I'm hiding something, but I'm looking for the words in order not to offend
Just
the
be
commission.
direct.
Well, for the president's desire.
Is that his sexual desire, sexual pleasure?
Yes, madam.
These foreign women in particular, did they have a particular look or physical appearance, just out of
Beautiful.
interest?
Beautiful.
And how else would you describe them? What was their complexion like?
Light skin.
And would you say that was the taste, a particular taste of ex-President Jammeh when it came to women?
Wow.
Is there anything else you would like to tell us surrounding this area of sexual violence? anything else in your own experience that you witnessed?
Not really, because after work, close of work, I would go home. And I used to go to Kalilai only when there were functions that would require my presence there. And after that, I would just leave and come back to Combo.
And when you went to Kanilai, can you tell us the kind of activities you would observe there? Please proceed, Mr. Ceesay. I'm just consulting with members of my team. You can proceed.
What did he say about?
I asked whether you observed any particular activity going on in Kanilai surrounding this theme that we're looking at when you went there on functions.
You know, when I go to Kanilai, I don't stay, we don't stay. I don't stay at the residence. I used to stay at the Sindola. From the Sindola, I'll organize my program. Then after the program, then I'll go home. And some of these ladies that would be invited to the function, you will leave them there and go.
And would some of these ladies be the ones you have marked on the list?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Would they also include women who were actually brought by number 30, 31, and 32?
Uh, 30?
And what about number 32?
Well, 32, the time number 32 was coming there, I would see them from a distance, because then I was not at some point, yes. I was the chief of protocol at some point before I left and became the protocol to the First Lady. Yes.
So is that a yes answer to my question?
As to whether?
Whether he would normally bring girls or women to Kanilai.
Yes, madam.
These girls, where did they actually come from? You mentioned some of the places they came from, but can you mention more?
Yeah, the girls that used to come from overseas, we used to have Americans, yes, Ethiopians, Nigerians, yes, as far as I can remember, yes.
What about Brazilians?
Brazilians. Maybe at the time then I was not there. I cannot recall the Brazilians, no.
And do you know how he managed to acquire such exotic women for the ex-president?
Well, that I cannot tell really. How did that number 2 manage to have those people or those ladies into Banjul? No, I don't know. I have no idea.
And do you know what the purpose of these foreign girls being brought from overseas to the ex-president were for?
You know, because those special girls, because they were not protocol officers, they were not under me.
I believe you've already answered this question, Mr. Ceesay. What was the purpose of these women being brought to him, to the ex-president?
Well, I think I answered that question earlier. I said
So
they are special.
just tell us again.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. They were special women to the president.
That wasn't the purpose. Please tell us directly what they were for.
No, really, to tell directly, because what I was saying, I was not into their intimacy. I would see them there, and they would go into the president's complex. So that's where I stopped.
And did you suspect what they were for in that case? Taking into consideration what you told us about all the other women.
What do I suspect? Well, because taking women all the way from America, Brazil, and other countries, it was for a purpose, I believe.
Mr. Ceesay, I see you want to make my life very difficult. For
Not
what
at all,
purpose?
Not at all, madam. Because that's what I suspect. Because really, I was not there to know exactly what they were doing in the complex.
For what
in the
purpose
apartment.
did you suspect they were here for?
Huh? For his pleasure, madam.
Thank you very much. That is
Thank you.
what we wanted to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just take you back to the protected information sheet. Have a look at number 12.
Yes.
Do you know
Oh, yeah.
anything about
Yeah.
them?
I should have circled number 12. Number 12, yes. I've
Can you-
circled that one.
Yeah, please, without revealing any identifying information, what do you know about this particular individual?
She used to be there to brew attire. I found her at the State House.
And what do you mean by brewing attire?
Brewing attire is making attire for the president.
Sorry, Mr. Ceesay.
I said making attire for the president.
And do you know under what circumstances this attire was being made and taken to the president?
No, how do I happen to know that is at times as chief of protocol, you will be called either from home or from your office to come and answer to the president. And then you would go there and then find that a particular lady is there brewing attire for the president.
And was this brewing of attire a special or regular activity for the president, the ex-president, Jammeh?
Well, you know, I will just say based on what Yusufa has just said here. He said it all, and I believe all that he said. Because he was an orderly, and we were working very closely. So the only thing is that he would spend more time with the president than I used to do.
And what did you hear Yusufa say about
Well, that
these
they were
women
special,
who were brewing attire?
that they were special ladies who would brew attire, take it directly to the president, neither through the steward nor the orderly. And when the boys brew attire, it has to go to the president through the orderly or the steward.
And was it normally for people to have such direct access to the ex-president?
No,
That was unusual.
no, you don't know.
We've also heard quite a few stories of rape and sexual violence during the course of this theme. Do you know of any accusations or actual rapes that occurred whilst you were chief of protocol, deputy chief of protocol, or within the protocol unit at any time?
No, to be quite honest, no.
And you are referring directly to allegations of rape. By that answer, you are referring directly to allegations of rape.
Whether I was aware of such?
Yes,
No.
but you have already agreed that sexual abuse was going on through the answers you provided to us.
Sexual abuse? In the sense that,
The sexual encounters that you mentioned between the president and
well,
the young
maybe
woman
you
that
call
was
it
brought to him.
sexual encounter. What I was saying was that I was limited. I would know that they were there and they went into the president's complex. So whatever happened behind the doors, to be quite honest, I cannot tell.
You've mentioned that you worked in the office of the First Lady, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe it was under the same circumstances that you were working with her, as you did with the president, in close proximity, protocol duties. Did she ever mention anything to you about the president's behavior
The
towards
first lady?
this woman? Yes.
No.
Do you know whether she was aware at any point?
No, to be quite honest, she never discussed any such matter with me.
Do you know why she was traveling so much? We have evidence that she traveled a lot. Do you know why?
Yes, at times we were saying that maybe it's to keep her away from Banjul, from Kanilai, so that he can have free room for himself.
Sorry, can you just repeat your answer, Mr. Ceesay?
We were saying that maybe it was to keep her away.
That was the rumor that was going on.
That's right.
And for what purpose would that be?
I cannot tell. I don't know.
You already said that so that he would be free to do what he wanted.
Yeah, those were the rumors.
And would you agree with those rumors, considering what you have witnessed?
It could be true.
Mr. Ceesay, just one of the last questions before we wrap up. You were Chief of Protocol, I believe, for the Office of the First Lady during the impasse. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes, I was I was permanent secretary responsible for protocol matters at the Office of the First Lady.
What is the difference between that and Chief of Protocol?
Well, in a way, I was the Chief of Protocol to the First Lady, but I was not called Chief of Protocol.
But you were performing the same duties and functions.
That's correct.
Okay. Where were you during the political impasse?
The political impasse, immediately after the elections, we traveled to the United States.
Please go ahead, Mr. Ceesay.
We traveled to the United States of America
You traveled with her,
with the First Lady.
and where did you go to?
We went to Washington,
Where in Washington?
D.C.
Where in Washington, D.C.?
She was staying at the Potomac residence, and I was staying in a hostel.
And where is the Potomac residence?
Where is the?
Yes. Is it a hotel? Is it a house?
It's a mansion, madam,
Owned by who?
by the former president.
And can you tell us anything significant that happened during that time whilst you were accompanying her or escorting her?
I can remember we were there, and then the former president had already accepted defeat. But while we were there, based on the reaction of the former First Lady, then I suspected that something was going to happen. I went to see her one day from my hostel to the residence, just because at times I would stay 2 to 3 days without going to the mansion, because at times we travel and not to have anything important to do. So when I went there to see her, while I was walking away, I overheard her calling the head of security, who happened to be Juf. Well, man, wow, okay. Then when I reached my hostel, I called Juf and asked him, well, while I was walking out, I overheard Madam calling you. What happened? Well, he told me that in 3-4 days, he should expect some security officers, private security officers. Well, then I added one on one and said, well, you know, it was rumored that the former president may change his mind and against the results. Okay. So then what immediately came to my mind was to call the Moroccan ambassador. He's still the ambassador to the Gambia with residence in Senegal. Then I called him. When he picked up the call, he was in Morocco. Then he told me, yes, Chief, I'm sorry, I'm in my hospital bed in Morocco, but you can go ahead quickly and tell me. I told him, wow, I suspect that the president may change his mind and reject the results of the elections completely. So he told me, what do you want me to do? Well, I told him, well, if this happens, it's going to be catastrophic in my country, and anything could happen. So what I want you to do, would it be possible for you to contact somebody in the King's Chamber and ask him to talk to the First Lady with a view to dissuading him to talk to the husband, not to change his mind regarding these election results? He told me yes, but while I was talking to him, I realized that he was not feeling well. Then when I put my phone down, then I called the Senegalese ambassador in Washington, who happened to be Babacar Diagne. He was an ambassador here sometime. Well, I told him, well, Mr. Ambassador, well, I suspect that this is going to happen in my country. He asked me, where are you? I told him, I'm in my hostel. Munema, okay, I'll send my driver to come and pick you. So the driver came, took me to the embassy. I explained everything to him, that, well, the president is going to change his mind regarding these election results. So he told me, okay, I'll do my best and then talk to the competent Senegalese authorities. So I left and came back to DC. Then I contacted, then the present defense minister was the ambassador to Washington, Sheikh Omar Faye. I explained the same story to him. But I told him, as far as I'm here right now, I want to believe that the First Lady would be the only solution for this thing not to happen. Then we agreed, Sheikh Omar Faye and myself, to make the FBI call the First Lady. I gave him the number. He gave it to the FBI. They called the Potomac residents. And then the lady in waiting, I believe, picked the phone and tell Madam First Lady, well, this is the FBI. And her reply was, no, I don't have anything to do with that, because I'm not into politics. Okay. Then she called me herself and told me, well, the FBI called the house. How did that happen? I told her, Madam, I gave them the number because they wanted to talk to you. She told me I don't have anything to do in politics. But I told her they want to talk to the spouse of the former president. So that didn't materialize. Then I went back to call back Sheikh Omar Faye. And he told me, Chief, what next? Well, I told her, okay, let them write to her. Email it to you, you forward to me, I'll print it out and take it to her. We did that. I took the letter the email and took it to the residence. At that time she was in, but getting ready to have, I think, lunch. I put it on the table and went back to my hotel, expecting to receive a phone call. And she did call me back and tell me, well, I have discussed this letter with the president, but he wants you to send it to him in Banjul. Then that's what I did. I sent it to Banjul. But days after, rumors came to us from Banjul that, well, former president is going to change his mind vis-a-vis the election results. Then I called the Senegalese ambassador and I told him, well, what I was telling you is very near and something has to be done. Because if such happened, well, because we were imagining all type of scenarios, we imagined. So actually that's what happened.
So in short, Madam First Lady was the person that influenced ex-President Jammeh to change his mind over the elections. Is that what you're insinuating?
No, what I'm saying here, then I thought she could have put her weight on the president not to do so. So that's what I was trying with that underground diplomacy, but it was not successful.
Did you believe that she had any influence over him?
Well, at that time, because that's what I believe I could do, because she was the one I was together with at that very moment.
But do you believe that she actually had influence over him? That's the question.
Yes. Well, there are circumstances when, you can ask the First Lady to talk to the President.
Do you know if she had anything to do with his decision to actually change his mind?
Not really, not really.
Just the last question before we conclude. I realize that we are running out of time. What was just in short, what was your experience with the First Lady when you worked in her office?
Yeah, very difficult because we used to travel with her to America and many places together with the security guard, of course. And that's why I was fond of this expression, misery in luxury, meaning that you will stay in a 5-star, 7-star hotel and not to have the right to eat there and to go stay in America 15, 20 days without per diem and come back home.
And why was this the case?
Well, what usually happened is this. It came to a point whereby, we had to seek permission for anything, for everything.
Wasn't that your entitlement to have per diem on international trips?
Very, very, very correct.
And that
Because
was being denied?
We had this experience of traveling with the First Lady, writing, requesting for per diem, and then it didn't go down well with the former president. So we stopped. That's why whenever we have to travel with the former First Lady, I would call her and ask her, then while we are traveling, should I apply for per diem or not? At times, very rare occasions, yes, or if not, okay. She would tell me I'll seek permission from the president.
And was this behavior to disguise the number of travels that she actually went through during the course of a year?
Yeah, it could be. It could be, but
why do you think she behaved like that?
why?
Why do you think that she behaved like that, refusing to pay per diems?
Well,
Or
not
the
paying-
president refusing to pay per diems?
Yeah, I think not paying per diem, I don't think was a good method for people not knowing that you are traveling. But usually, you know, per diems is to pay for our hotel rooms and buy what to eat. But you know, usually in a delegation, you have to leave something home. Most of the soldiers would want to leave a certain amount with their families before they go, because it's very difficult to travel for that long and not to leave anything behind for their families.
And my question was, why do you believe they refuse to pay these per diems?
Well, because we'll ask, because to be honest, there were occasions when we were asked not to request for per diem, and we received a token.
And
Because the reason why, I don't know, really, I don't know.
and what would be the token that you would normally receive in those instances?
When we arrived, it varied. They varied from 300 to $800.
And was the president aware of all of these trips? Was he aware of these trips that you went on with the First Lady?
Of course, yes.
Was he aware of the fact that you had not been paid?
That I don't know. Because at times when we asked not to write, and then in turn we were given a token, which he said it was for the former from the former president, there I assume that the president knew that we were not being paid.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ceesay. Mr. Chairman, I hand over the witness. Oh, my apologies, Mr. Chairman. I have just one more thing to do before I end the witness's testimony. Mr. Witness, can you just hand over the sheet to the usher, Mr. Usher?
Of course.
We would like to put the protected information sheet into the record as Exhibit 0094. And Mr. Usher, can you kindly also collect the other protected information sheets from the commissioners, please? Thank you.
Council, just before you do that, hold on a second. Can one of you come in for a quick procedural consultation? Thank you very much, Emma Council. Please proceed.
Yeah, thank you. I hand over the witness to you. I don't know if you've granted my application, though. I made an application for the protected information.
I was just about to do that, but the procedural question had something to do with that. I was going to preempt you, but it's all right. Lead counsel has explained it, clarified the point. I don't think there will be any confusion now vis-à-vis the record of these proceedings. But your request is very happily granted.
Thank you.
But thank you very much indeed, Council, and thank you, Mr. Ceesay, for your testimony, and thank you also for coming to assist us in carrying out the mandate that the National Assembly is giving us.
Thank you, sir.
On to commissioners now. If you have any questions for Mr. Ceesay, please so indicate and proceed. Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Alhagie Ceesay.
Yes.
Those array of fanciful ladies from Africa and America that used to be on the beck and call of the former president, how long do they stay when they are in the country?
For weeks, I believe. Weeks.
Weeks.
Yes. Yes, sir. Some would stay for a week, 2 weeks even.
Right. Okay. My next question is about you traveling to the United States with the First Lady. And there's a mansion, a big mansion. She will stay there, and you are the protocol. And you have to go and stay in a motel. Can you please explain the rationale behind that?
Or maybe there was no space for us to stay there. There was no space for us to stay there. Yes, because what I'm saying here, there were outer rooms that was reserved for the security, but there was no room for protocol there.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Ceesay, I have one question regarding the junglers. You said it was an open secret at the State House that they were the junglers. What exactly was known about them?
That it was an open secret for somebody to be pinpointed as a jungler at the State House.
What did you understand their role to be?
Then, well, as I said, as it was explained here, these were people that would go and do bad things, as it was explained here, to kill people.
So in essence, it was an open secret, open knowledge that they were involved in carrying out some of Jammeh's assassinations?
Yes, that's what everybody suspected.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mamsi, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Alhagie Usman. How are you doing? We are very happy with your clarification. When you are being recruited for your appointment, where are you written to? And when you are fired, they tell you nothing?
They did.
And you too will not ask any questions? They could even lock you in the process. And when they recall you again, and when they give you a letter of appointment, you accept and you don't question them why they had sacked you initially. What did I do to warrant my sacking in the first place? And you didn't tell me anything? We've never asked those questions. We were afraid to ask. That was it.
Thank you very much indeed. If there are no further questions, Mr. Ceesay, if you have any concluding remarks to make, please proceed to do so now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish to thank the Commission for the good work they are doing in trying to put our hearts together through forgiveness and reconciliation, so that never again shall we see our beloved country going into a wrong direction. I believe the onus now is on us Gambians to nurture and strengthen the rule of law, as well as to consolidate the dividends that has been yielded by our new democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Ceesay, for your testimony. We will resume our proceedings tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. If there are no further questions, meeting is adjourned. See you tomorrow morning. Thank you all very much.